It was a Monday night, the kind where the streets go empty by 9 and the wind feels restless. I clocked out of work around 8, drove straight home, and jumped online to game with my friends. Since my divorce a few months earlier, the house felt cavernous, every room holding its own silence. Gaming was my escape. The forecast warned of a severe thunderstorm overnight. Flash flood alerts were already buzzing, but around here, those were almost routine. By 11, rain was already whispering against the windows when a sudden, violent gust slammed into the siding. The entire house groaned under the force. I lifted my headset, half listening to my friends, half tuned to the house's uneasy creaks. The lights flickered once, twice, and then, without warning, my entire screen and every bulb in the place went black. The darkness was so complete I couldn't even see my own hands. Feeling along my desk, I found my phone and used its weak glow to shuffle toward the basement. I kept a battery bank down there. Nothing fancy, just enough to run a lamp or two. My feet touched the first step when the storm outside seemed to grow teeth, rattling the windows in their frames. At the base of the stairs, shadows piled thick around old boxes and furniture. I grabbed the battery bank and started back up, then froze. Somewhere behind the stacks of cardboard, something shifted. Could have been the wind, could have been the storm. That's what I told myself. I didn't linger to find out. Upstairs, I plugged in a lamp in the living room, opened the blinds, and sat on the couch. The rain ran down the glass in silver streams. I figured I'd wait for the power to return before heading to bed. An hour passed. Restless, I cracked the front door and stepped out under the porch overhang. Across the street, a few windows glowed, so the outage wasn't affecting everyone. Just as I turned to go back inside, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Power lines down in your area. Expect extended outages. It wasn't from the electric company. No official ID. Just a plain, unmarked number. I sat back on the couch, phone in hand. When it happened, 3 slow, deliberate creaks from the wooden stairs leading to the basement. I crept to the door. It was ajar, wide open. I couldn't see a thing down there, but I could feel it. The air was colder, heavier. I shut the door. Not 10 seconds later, heavy footsteps thundered up from below, shaking the floor. Something hit the door hard, shoulder, fist, I don't know, and began ramming it over and over. There was no lock. My body became the only barrier. I pulled my phone, fumbling for 911. The pounding stopped. Footsteps retreated. That was my cue. I bolted for my car, engine roaring to life as I tore down the street. Later, police would tell me there was no outage. The breaker had been shut off manually. Whoever texted me knew my number and knew I'd check the basement. They weren't after just anyone. Henry and I had camped plenty of times before. State parks, small lakeside sites, but nothing truly remote. That summer, we decided we were ready for the real thing. A deep forest campsite miles from the nearest road. We found one in a barely documented hiking forum. Just a few grainy photos from years ago. 3 hours drive, for more on foot. That was the plan. The parking spot was nothing but a patch of dirt at the end of an overgrown road. The trail ahead looked old, choked with roots, like no one had cleared it in a decade. By mid-afternoon, we reached a grassy clearing atop a small hill. From there, the forest stretched endlessly, dark and untouched. No signs of recent campers. We set up tents. While Henry was still arranging his gear, I wandered to the overlook. That's when I saw movement. 4, maybe 5 figures weaving silently through the trees below. Too far to make out faces, but their shapes were clear. By the time Henry joined me, they were gone. We convinced ourselves it was nothing unusual. Hikers, maybe hunters. Night fell and we sat by the fire. The forest's nighttime voice was steady. Crickets, wind, until faint human voices slipped into the mix. The voices didn't draw closer. They didn't move away. They just stopped. A moment later, a single set of footsteps approached from the darkness. A man emerged into the firelight, red baseball cap, shoulder-length black hair, a smile stretched too wide. "Either of you know where the trail is?" he asked. I pointed without speaking. Then I asked if the others out there were with him. His expression flickered, smile gone, then back again. "Didn't see anyone," he said, glancing toward the trees. He left, vanishing down the trail. Henry and I didn't buy it. He'd come from the exact direction we'd heard those voices. Why lie? 30 uneasy minutes later, we decided to leave. The air felt heavier, like the forest itself was watching us. As we doused the fire, a leaf crunched just behind me. I spun with my flashlight. There he was, the man in the red cap, standing barely 15 feet away, smiling that same unsettling smile. I killed the light and ran. Footsteps exploded behind us. Not just his, but several others, closing in from both the trail and the trees. They chased us for what felt like forever, then faded into the dark. We didn't stop until we reached the car. We drove away, never once looking back. We've never been camping since. It was early spring 2021. I was driving home from college for break, a 2-day trip across miles of empty roads. I'd made good time that Tuesday, pushing 10 hours straight, and by evening I was ready to stop. The map showed a small hotel just off a forgotten back road behind a gas station. Street lights were sparse. The air felt older here, quiet in a way that makes your ears strain. The building was small, its lobby lights strangely dim. No one was at the front desk at first. After a moment, a woman appeared, startled to see me, then quickly checking me into the last room. Room 12, all the way down the hall. Inside, the room was plain. Dated wallpaper, a low hum from the mini fridge, the faint smell of dust. I didn't bother unpacking, just dropped my bag and stretched out on the couch with my phone. At some point, I drifted off. A sharp knock at the door jolted me awake. The clock read 11 p.m. I opened the door. Empty hallway. Silent. Puzzled, I checked both directions before shutting the door. Half an hour later, it happened again. Louder this time. I rushed to the door. Still nothing. The desk clerk listened patiently when I told her, then frowned. "That's odd. You're the only guest here tonight." That thought rattled in my head as I locked the door, crawled into bed, and stared at the ceiling. My phone's glow barely lit the room, just enough for me to see him. A figure stood in the corner, motionless, watching. I shot out of bed, fumbling at the locks. Behind me, his footsteps pounded closer, fast. The door finally swung open and I ran into the hallway. The clerk's eyes went wide as she saw him charging behind me. She grabbed the phone to call 911, but he veered, sprinting out the door into the night. Police came. Their cameras caught him slipping into my room earlier, right after I'd left to speak with her. I still don't know who he was, or what he wanted, but I've never stayed in a roadside motel since.